Preventing you from becoming an armchair magician and separating magic from theology, Marco Visconti's The Aleister Crowley Manual begins by emphasizing a truth fundamental to any magical practice. Namely, not reading but doing, and practicing should be in its core and make the bulk of it. Though eclectic, the book is intended for beginners emerging from the author's online lectures, and after unpacking it on the channel, I'll discuss some of the parts I find most interesting. Before that, consider subscribing to the channel and the newsletter I recently started if you find the content valuable and entertaining. Also, check my books such as my Gumroad and Etsy pages, as they'll soon have more products to help your practice and life. True Will. Subtitled Thelemic Magic for Modern Times, the Aleister Crowley Manual makes a clear distinction between true or pure will and conscious intent. The author notes that will, with capital W, isn't the starting point but a goal, and as we know from science, willpower and thus conscious intent is limited and fluctuating. Quote, "True will does not equate with conscious intent, rather it signifies the interplay between the most profound self, using this term very loosely, and the entire universe." Unquote. And as Crowley said, quote, "A man who does his true will has the inertia of the universe to assist him." Unquote. The AGA. The AGA, Visconti explains, isn't an actual angel. It is the defined by the Greeks as daemon or daemonic self, such as the divine genius in the Golden Dawn system. Basically, it is an expression of what you consider God, wherever that is. Given that, and like more alternative scholars including Temple of Set's Dawn Web and Gallery of Magic's Daemon Brand, the author recognizes there can't be one-size-fits-all approach to uniting with the angel. More on that can be found by researching Setian initiations, such as how Otheos' legendary Phyllis Sequer got her KNC. Also by watching my summary of Daemon Brand's Magical Destiny. Magickal Thinking. Using an excerpt from Liber Abba, the book explains that magic has to do with mythical or magical thinking, and this partially supports my hypothesis that magic, at least to a degree, is a sophisticated system of tools for causing all sorts of placebo effects. Whether they are internal or external is a subject for another discussion. Magickal Force. Reiterating the importance of doing, the Aleister Crowley Manual unravels that while learning planetary and spirit attributions is vital, their existence and validity are inconsequential. Important is only the results you get from the operations, and as I like to say, trust your empirical results. They will lead you to God or God, depending on how you look at it and what you look for. Fostering such an approach, Visconti provides well-designed minimalistic tables of correspondences. He also reveals that these attributions aren't to be memorized passively, but actively engaged in ritual, and the more you do that, the more aspects of the force you can mobilize, and thus, the more significant the impact on your psyche. An inner journey. All this applies when pathworking the tarot, which the author defines as a voyage to your inner self. The section offers a more profound understanding of the cards by actually working with them. It also outlines what I see as a more active variation of Donald Michael Craig's ATCR. The exercise calls for actively engaging with the card insight like in a video game. Comment. Though I appreciate that, I slightly disagree you should snack after to quote-unquote ground yourself. As one who has done OMAD for a decade, in my humble opinion, it may be better to be already grounded by having your blood glucose stable, cravings eliminated, and merely fast. An advantage of such metabolic flexibility is that it boosts your cognition, and this is recognized by biohackers, New Agers, and magicians including Dave Asprey, Aubrey Marcus, Joe Dispenza, and the Chaos Magic scholar Gordon White, who regards fasting as a free drug. They all agree fasting boosts clarity, enhancing all experiences' vividness, and that's also well known to shamans, druids, and more recently astronauts. To learn more about fasting's miraculous effects, I suggest the works of the mentioned, my other channel, and my first book OMAD Games. Magickal Pyramid. Teaching how to build your magical temple, the author stresses that pranayama is the foundation of everything. Quote, "No matter how many extraordinary worthy rituals you commit to memory, or how many magical tools you make or buy, if there's no breathing, there's no magic. If anyone tells you differently, they are either clueless or lying." Unquote. Visconti recognizes 10 minutes of conscious breathing daily as the ground zero of your magical practice, and if you watch my channel, you know something very similar is stressed by regard is the one-year manual. One of its main benefits is that you become more present, living in the now, and this is considered your ultimate power by New Age bestsellers like The Power of Now. Your inner world. Besides calming your mind, increasing breath awareness lets your creative impulses, emotions, thoughts and bodily sensations arise, and this gives you a somewhat accurate perspective of your inner world as these correspond to fire, water, air and earth. Unlike zealous self-help gurus advocating suppressing those with willpower, Visconti explains that only heightens their intrusion, giving them more power, and the key is to become a silent observer without judging. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Quote, "By silently observing, watching and taking note of their interactions, you diminish their hold on you and start developing concentration. We have to learn patience to combat restlessness." Unquote. Scientific Illuminism. Emphasizing the importance of a magical diary, the Aleister Crowley manual explains you should be thorough, yet write in a manner so the others can read it. You should also clearly depict your results rather than trying to fit them into someone's expectations, especially not yours. Quote, "This practice really is the key to scientific Illuminism, one of the critical approaches of Thelema. The emphasis is on reproducibility. Rituals and exercises can be performed precisely so they can be replicated by others. Likewise, you should get precise and reproducible results with practice. If not, the particular ritual or exercise you're doing is merely superstition." Unquote. The biggest obstacle. While not comprehending all of the ritual symbolism from the get-go is okay, obsessing over it isn't. Applicable to mastering any new skill and making progress in general, the author suggests avoiding overthinking at any cost. Quote, "Overthinking is the death of magic. I cannot emphasize this enough." Unquote. And as we know from the polymath Suzy Kassem, doubt, which is overthinking's root cause, kills more dreams than failure. Everyone is a star. Rather than confronting organized religion, the author uses Frater Katz's works to shift your perspective and help you realize you are a star in its body. And once that happens, you discover that the same applies to all others. In that position, you have two options. 1. Appreciating equality and making the most out of it. 2. Reverting back to old paradigms. Whatever it is, let me know about your choice, such as what you think most people do. And since everyone is a star, isn't it the most important what you actually make out of it? Let me know what you think of that too. Astral Travel. Quote, "Astral travel is not so much a way to experience other realities, but rather a way inward to discover your true nature. This resonates with the notion that there isn't another universe but your own, also that magicians journey to the depths of their souls. The exact section offers to call Malkut queendom instead of kingdom, as the divine feminine Shekinah resides in this sphere. In my humble opinion, this makes a ton of sense, especially when considering the phrase, she sits in the throne of Binah. Rituals. The Aleister Crowley manual offers two variations of the middle pillar, the Kabbalistic one by Regardie and the Thelemic one invented by Jason Augustus Newcomb. Though it teaches Thelema, it uses some standard Golden Dawn rituals, as Thelema is heavily based on the Golden Dawn system. Later, the section advocates actively invoking and banishing the four elements so you can either enhance or tune down specific characteristics in your psyche. Oddly, GRP, the standard tool for that in the Thelemic tradition, comes later, and the author arguably states that though this is Thelema, you cannot ignore its preceding magical systems. Comment. In my humble opinion, this should be also considered when later the book disregards rites like SRP as an Aeon technology more recently invented by Regardie. Based on my research and according to scholars like the Ciceros and Nick Farrow, SRP was the technique the original Golden Dawn started all their operations with. Regardie invented OBW, which is an elaborate SRP and was adopted by Stella Matutina groups. Computer and calculator. The Aleister Crowley manual also compares GRP to an actual computer, whereas SRP to a calculator. This doesn't match my subjective experience, and to me they are both computers. One is the MacBook Air and the other is the fully spec'd out 16-inch MacBook Pro. Given that, I encourage anyone to do each for a month without closing it to find out how it goes for them. You can watch my videos to learn these rituals and get my extensive PDF on SRP via Etsy and Gumroad. Regarding GRH, which I actually prefer over SRH, the book omits the fifth hexagram, such as the Hebrew letter, which apparently is a more streamlined variation. It also uses traditional Golden Dawn hexagrams instead of the more Thelemic unicursal. No field of operation. When introducing KLRP, the author clearly distinguishes its purpose from GRPs, which kinda gets muffled in the GRP section. As you know if you watch this channel, the first is general, creating a sacred space, whereas the second particular, attuning that space to a specific force. Considering that the book sequences usually start with GRP and or GRH and then close with LBRP, I guess that is a different approach with which I have no experience, but will be happy to know what you think of. A marathon, not a sprint. Reiterating there's no substitute for actual practice, the book distinguishes between new thought and magic. Magic, Visconti explains, isn't a mere manifestation and your desire isn't enough. If you want something, you must work, and if you want to reach that stage, you have to be patient and not rush things, especially when building the foundation. And to me, that sounds like going to the gym. If you want the results, you make time and do it anyway. There are no excuses. What is a Thelemite? The author defines a Thelemite as using every possible tool to obtain knowledge in conversation. Sure, it can be ceremonial magic. Still, the Thelemic hot takes section mentions witchcraft, chaos magic, new age, philosophy and psychology, or a combination revealed by the true you. It is also about finding your true you, not Crowley's, which some people must remember. Besides appreciating, I also find this to be very Sethian, as I often recognize Sethianism as intrinsically Thelemic. Let me know if you want to hear more about that. Aeons. Giving background on Aeons, the Aleister Crowley manual points out that the theory has no scientific validity and actually contradicts modern astronomy. This, however, doesn't imply it's gibberish. It means Aeons shouldn't be taken literally, but as a map, considering they overlap. When a new Aeon happens, there's a new technology you can use to develop yourself. Whether you actually do it, it's up to you. Remember the whole thing with New Its body. Explaining why Osiran dogmas continue to dominate, this perspective is similar to those of scholars like Don Webb and Michael Aquino. The main character. After providing an excellent explication of the Thelemic deities, arguably my favorite part, the Aleister Crowley manual focuses on Thelema's absolute protagonist, you. Quote, "In this new Aeon, you're the central character of the epic. No gods or heroes, you and you alone. This is the groundbreaking change of the perspective that brings each individual to the center of the universe as each becomes essentially one with the interplay between Hadith and Nuit." Unquote. Meditating on that, I suggest considering the LHP concept that the magician should align with Set as the one stable constant in the universe. Also, personal development's basic principle of you being the most important person in your life, since you are the only factor without which your life cannot exist, and thus prioritizing yourself above all else. In my humble opinion, they all provide different layers of understanding of the very same thing. Let me know if you agree. The same section explains that Coronzon isn't a demon dwelling on the abyss, but something to be aware of, regardless of whether you're a Thelemite. Quote, "Coronzon is not a demon, adversary or anything you can truly fight. It is dispersion, the loss of focus, the lack of motivation, the countless hours spent on social media replying to every nasty comment on YouTube or Twitter. Coronzon will force you to interrogate yourself in an internal monologue without end. Coronzon is incapable of imagining anything outside itself." Unquote. Final words. Very concise and readable, the Aleister Crowley manual is a great book for those with zero experience and knowledge of Thelema. It is a page-turner I read in about 5 hours and it includes good graphics. It partially resembles a synthesis between the one-year manual and the magic of Aleister Crowley, plus something different. It also provokes profound meditations, not just on magic, but life in general. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what yours is, such as your thoughts on the book and this review. Otherwise, like this video if it provides value, subscribe for more content like this, also to my newsletter which I started recently. Check my other works and books, especially the digital products I make on Etsy and Gumroad, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for your time.